Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Tipsy Tarot, Season 1, Episode 2. I'm your host, Will, and welcome to the space. Thank you for returning. If you wanted to be with me and my energy, welcome to the space, the only place where you can get a little bit tipsy and a little bit of clarity all at the same time. Today, I have a very special guest, Christopher Coogan. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you, my good friend?
I'm doing all right. I'm a little bit nervous. I've never done one of these things before. So
Good. Multiple things. Not a reading before, not a podcast before.
Not a reading before, not a podcast before. No.
All right, so we're hitting you with two completely different things.
First timer, both things for sure.
All right. Well, hey, I'm proud of you for stepping out of your comfort zone. That is what this podcast is all about. Yeah, self-discovery, reflection, a little laugh here or there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I thought, if it shows you how much I know about this kind of thing, sure. I thought that the word was pronounced tarot up until like 2 weeks ago. So,
wrong, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so I know like pretty much nothing.
Well, hey, you're learning, and that's what matters.
For sure.
So, everybody, today I have my good friend Chris on, and it's kind of going to be a funny ride throughout this whole thing because not only the state that I'm in, but also I don't think up until thinking about recording this and being like, people would probably be confused if I called you Coogan the whole time. Because I don't think I normally ever call you Chris or Christopher. I don't think anybody I know really does.
Very, like, my brother calls me Christopher. That's pretty much the only person in my entire life that has ever done that. And then, like, very few people actually call me by my first name in general. So, like...
Well, then, if that's the case, I'm just going to let the Cougans fly free, you know what I mean?
Do your thing. Yeah,
I've already dropped a card. Embarrassing on my own podcast. I'm still getting the hang of things. I want to quickly, before we get started, I want to give a little shout out to the people who are helping me make this thing possible. My sweet, sweet housemates who let me use their technology. So at Nick, thank you for letting me use your equipment. At Jackson, thank you for helping me set it up. And also to Jackson and Lauren last week, thank you for letting me use your setup. We have a lot of podcasts going on in this house.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Heard the last one, all the different podcasts that both of you guys do. I can't promise that I'm going to be probably sound as personable as someone who's like done it a bunch before, but I'm going to do my best here.
We want authenticity here. It's funny because I was telling somebody earlier, I was like, I have my friend Chris Coogan on. I was like, he is a riot. So I'm sure this will be a good episode.
I'm going to try and catch up to you for sure.
There you go. Oh, he's making fun of me. I'm being insulted in front of everyone. Cougs, would you like to just give a brief, hello to everybody? Tell them a little bit about yourself, where you are in life at this moment.
Yeah. So, my name's Chris Coogan, as Will said. I currently live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where I went to school with Will. That's how I originally met him. I work for a company called Relias, where I do client support of all different kinds. So just general tech support to actual licensing issues and just kind of helping them navigate everything. Obviously the state of the US right now, not a whole lot going on other than that, just kind of working from home. In general, just been one thing I have been working on, just trying to work on physical and mental health all together. Kind of correlate those things, cannot speak, work on mindfulness in general. So yeah, that's about it.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah. Well, then I feel like you are in the right place.
Yeah, for sure.
At least that's what I have the obligation to say, because this is my podcast and I can say what I want.
Yeah, do your thing.
So Cougs, you and I have known each other for about 5 years now, which is kind of crazy to think. Oof, and not only that, but our friendiversary is actually coming up, and you're probably wondering, Will, why do you know that? And the reason I know that is because, other than maybe a few times in passing, the first time we actually hung out and met with everybody, our friend group, that's because that's how we know each other, was the night from the bleeding in of my birthday into yours freshman year.
Oh my God.
Yep. Everyone look at his face. Shame.
Oh my God. I did not know that. That was totally the night we met.
Yep.
Oh my God. That was one hell of a night.
Everyone's probably thinking,
I think that was the cheese balls.
That was the cheese balls. If you didn't remember which specific night, that's what I was going to say. That was the cheese balls.
Oh my God.
If everybody wants a quick summary, if you've ever watched a human giant, his name's Kyle, lay on his side and throw up over a balcony, that was that night, and I don't regret it for a minute.
No, not at all. It was such a fun night. But yeah, the cheese balls, I don't really know. Honestly, to this day, I don't know where I got them, but somebody handed me a barrel, and I took them and left y'all's dorm from the whatever floor we were on and spread them all across campus.
I remember exactly where you got those cheese balls from. You took them from Trent's room.
Oh, okay. You know, that makes sense.
It's all coming back.
Sorry, Trent.
Well, everybody, I promise this episode will not just be recapping our college experiences together. Actually, as a matter of fact, just to start off right off the bat, Kooks, let's take a minute, you reached out to me directly. I sent my podcast into our friend group message, and I was like, obviously you are all obliged to listen to my podcast. And for sure. Coogs was like, I want to be on it. And I was like, okay. Then he messaged me directly, outside of the group, and was like, no, I want to be on it. And I was like, oh, this is serious. It's like, Coogs needs some clarity. And so now he's here. Now, you've told me a little bit, this is not your forte. This is not, I want to hear your, where are you mentally right now with what we're doing?
So, I actually recently learned a little bit more about this kind of stuff than I have in the past. I know nothing about, tarot and how that whole process works, but a little bit more about, just astrology-based things. I know nothing about it before. It's just, I don't know. I just always like to keep an open mind to things I don't really understand, and this is something that I've kind of been reading about here recently. This might seem kind of shocking, but I know the one thing I do know is the whole new moon thing just happened.
There you go.
Did I say that right? Okay. So I did a little ritual thing about that. So I was just reading about that. Yeah, I know. That's shocking.
This is not the man I left in North Carolina. Yeah. Okay.
So, I just I've been doing, I did that and just kind of wrote some things down and said them out loud that I, wanted to kind of feel better about, and two, wanted to continue doing that I thought was going well in my life. And since then it's kind of done nothing but yield positive results. So, sure. Just kind of while this might not be the same thing, just the whole idea of meditation and kind of saying your own, your inner thoughts out loud to yourself, and just kind of mindfulness in general has been something that I've been more in tune with than I have in the past. And it's been great. So I know when you said this, I was like, I'm definitely, this is interesting to me. I'm in, let's do it.
Yeah, no, I love that. That sounds like the exact journey that I was on a couple of years ago, where it was kind of I knew where I stood religiously, and I do identify as somebody religious, but it was I wanted to feel like I also had spiritual wellness. I wanted to feel like my soul felt taken care of. And while that, maybe seems silly, I wanted to add more to my repertoire of how can I take care of myself and connect mind, spirit, body, all at once. And that's kind of how I got into this as well. And also meditation and Krugs is gone. Where did you go?
Sorry.
Oh, there you are.
I Jasper,
your cat.
Those of you listening, my cat was over here messing with my laptop charger and was then pulled my laptop, so I was trying to get him out of my room. My bad. Jasper, I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No, it's okay. Jasper has always been trouble. Always. But we love Jasper.
Always.
A ride or die.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, I was just saying, I just felt like I wanted to take care of myself in more ways than I already was. And so the next thing for me was spiritual wellness. And with that came mental health, positivity, to some degree manifestation, if that's something you subscribe to. And in some ways I do, and wanting to apply, and something that I think, something I want to say to, I hope everybody can hear me just shuffling my cards while I talk. Something that I was looking for was just something that I felt like I could practice, a routine I could build into my spiritual foundation, my religious foundation. And, I see a big misconception online a lot that tarot or anything related to that is witchcraft, Satan, whatever. And I have a bit more of a progressive perspective that even if that were the case, that wouldn't matter. However, that's not, I don't identify as somebody who casts spells. I don't identify as a witch. I'm very much an energy oriented person, and for me, my introduction, my first book to tarot was actually a book that grounded tarot as a practice grounded in psychology, and that's what really made it for me. It was just talking about
interesting,
not only the spiritual connection, but even if that's not your thing, if you're not looking to apply it in that kind of realm, it gets compared a lot to sort of like almost the ink blot. You know what I mean? Like being able to look at something and say like, well, this is making me feel a certain type of way, and because of that,
like I see this,
I see this, and because of that, subconsciously, like, why is that coming forward?
I got you.
And so, like, the practice I put forward is, I feel like I'm a very intuitive person. I'm definitely an empath, so I use my intuition and my empathy and my cues from you and with you to kind of help you work through the meanings of the cards and what comes to mind, bring a message forward. Another thing I'll say to you, and what I'll say to everybody listening, if for you use this also as like a practice to connect with higher self, higher consciousness, God, whomever, bring that vibe to the table. You know what I mean? Like whoever you think you're channeling, whoever you think you need to hear from. Cool. I did mention that our birthdays run right into each other. Mine is coming up October 9th, and yours is the 10th, right?
Yeah, me and Chloe, the 10th, actually.
And Chloe, good friend Chloe, old girl, shout out. Everybody's going to be listening to this and be like, okay, so how many more college jokes are we going to get?
Who the fuck are these people?
But I was going to say, so we're both Libras. We both got that Libra energy. I am just kind of wondering, do you subscribe to astrology at all? Like, what is sort of where's your, like, headspace in terms of any, what do you subscribe to right now?
I mean, like, to be honest with you, in any kind of way, shape, or form, I've never really been a very spiritual or like religious any kind of way person, whether it be just like typical like conventional religion or the astrology and like the whole like all this ideas what we're talking about. It's just something that like the idea of it has always been kind of interesting, but like when I hear people talk about it, I never understand what they're saying. Like if this tells you anything, like what you were just saying about your progressive view on like tarot cards and things in general, when I like think about that idea, like this might be, I don't know, the only picture that comes to mind is like a cartoon, like fortune teller kind of thing with like you were saying with like the crystal ball and like the, like, I don't know, like all the cards and everything. I don't know. So it's just something that, I don't know, I've always been not always been like super interested and intrigued in, but something I've never really understood. And I've recently become more interested in like what it means and like how it operates. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, in terms of, I guess, like what I would say I like really subscribe to is more just like trying to draw more off like energies that I get personally and like trying to be more in tune with, like my, lack of a better way to put it, more in tune with like my emotions and like the way that I feel about certain situations and kind of like not really knowing where to go or like what to think and like kind of being okay with that, I guess. Yeah. Be a way to put it. Yeah.
No, totally. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that, first off. I put it out in this last episode, and I just want to say again, like, bring whatever you want to the space, challenge by choice, share what you feel comfortable. I really appreciate that and that perspective. But yeah, I mean, something that I think you are implying without saying it maybe explicitly is that sometimes things like this aren't very accessible because it's just kind of like, one, it can be a lot to learn, or so you think, and so whether it be anything like astrology or tarot or any other kind of like spiritual, energy-based, meditative practice, it can all seem a little bit inaccessible. And that's really what I'm kind of happy about me doing this and joining this like landscape of people who make these types of podcasts, make this type of digital content, is making it accessible and showing that like it doesn't have to be scary. It can be literally whatever you want. And you can apply it to whatever aspects of yourself you want, So, why don't you also share what you're drinking?
Well, oh my God, I went right into the Miller Lite with this one, the finest of Pilsners, just as Jackson was saying on the last one.
Everybody, I'm gonna have to get somebody who's not a straight white boy on my show.
No, okay,
I'm two for two, and they're drinking Miller Lite.
See, no. Okay, I was drinking a wild little thing, Sierra Nevada, before, but I cracked that one before we started.
It's more
and exciting. Then you caught me right as I I got the just the typical trash that I normally drink.
The problem is I jumped the gun. I was drinking while I waited for my good friend, my good guest, Christopher Coogs, and now here I am, feeling a certain type of way, feeling good. The third eye is open, everyone.
Yeah, I got a couple different ones over here, so I'll talk about it.
Gosh, that's exciting. I am a creature of habit and feeling a little bit basic today, and so I am primarily just sipping on what should probably be my last White Claw Ruby Grapefruit. I am a big fan. I feel like at some point everybody's going to be like, okay, so when are you going to get like a good alcohol that's worth talking about? And the minute I have the money to get something luxurious to drink with y'all, I will. But until then, mind your business.
No, do your thing. Yeah,
until this podcast pays my bills.
Sticking with White Claws.
I'm sticking with White Claws or whatever I can afford or whatever is in the fridge. Cool. All right. Well, Christopher Coogan, how are you feeling?
Feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Cool.
Sorry, Parker just came in and I was trying to understand what he was trying to say to me.
No, you're good.
He was telling me he wants to listen to the whole thing. I'm like, all right, we'll get you that eventually.
We'll get you that. We will get you that on Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, you name it.
His resume.
You can get it where you need it.
The resume.
No, but I was going to say, before we get started with your reading, and we'll talk a little bit about the kind of reading we're going to do. And I was just going to, do you have any questions before we jump into it about anything? I mean, what's coming to your mind about tarot? Like, is there anything you would feel more comfortable knowing about before we get into this?
No, I'm definitely the second, honestly, I texted you, I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
Okay.
I'm interested.
Cool. Well, just before we get started, first off, for everybody who is a regular tarot listener or somebody who's reporting back, I am again going to be doing my reading with my normal Rider-Waite deck. It is the deck I read with the most. I get the clearest messages from it. At some point, I want to introduce some of my other decks. I have so many to choose from, but for the time being, I want to make everything as good as possible. Old Faithful. You know what I mean? Alrighty. And just to give everybody a little bit of an idea of what we're going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is similar to what I did with Jackson in episode 1. But we're going to do first a 3-card pool, and we're going to take a look at, let's see what the cards are saying Chris needs to pay attention to now. Where is he right now? Where is he headed? Let's take a look at the here, the now, the person we are being introduced to. Let's unpack some of that, and then we'll do another 3-card pool, just a very generic brief looking at what is Libra season bringing for Christopher Coogan. We did Mars retrograde for Jackson, and this time we're going to break it down to Libra season. So how does that feel for you?
Okay. Sounds good to me. So how does that exactly work? We're still in the whole retrograde, right?
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
I don't really know what I'm talking about here, so I'm trying to fully understand.
No, you're good. So Mars retrograde is going to last until I think early November. It's going to be kind of a long one.
Okay. Cool.
Libra season will end at the end of October. About the last week of October. I think it's to the 23rd, I think. Then it's Scorpio season, and then we're all going to get wrecked because it's Scorpio season, and we all know what Scorpios are like. Kind people. We don't discriminate here.
I have no idea what they're like. So.
Oh, sorry. I just scream laughed into my mic. I was about to say that exact same thing. I was like, I can go on and on, but it's for my own laugh at this point. Alrighty. So, Coogan, what I'm going to ask you to do.
Okay.
Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth when you feel so called to do. And I just want you to think to yourself, where have I been in life recently? What has my life been like? What have I been feeling? What have I been dealing with? What have I been experiencing? What is there to unpack? What do I need to think about? What should I be focusing on? Or what do I want to focus on? And just want the sign that says, hey, time to focus. All right. We're going to do that thing. You can keep your eyes closed. You just stay nice and relaxed. Set your intention. Send it to me. I'm going to do my... Everybody knows, if you listen to my first episode, I recently learned how to shuffle and bridge. We're going to see if I do it successfully this time. Oh, I did, and it's on camera. Heck yeah. That means this is going to be a good reading. All right.
That's good.
So, Coogan, I am just going to shuffle, and when you feel so-called, when you're like, okay, I'm feeling good, you tell me to stop.
Okay. All right, stop.
Okay. Alrighty, so we're gonna pull. You can open your eyes now.
Okay,
you can
cool.
re-enter the space.
Let's go.
That was for the. Oh, and for anybody listening and not watching on my YouTube, we are on Zoom together, so we see what we're doing. And then I was obviously in person with Jackson last time, so cool. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pull your 3, and we're gonna do just like what's been happening, what's happening now, and like where has your mind been, kind of thing, right? All right. So the first thing. Okay. So the first thing I pulled was the Page of Cups. Okay. All right. So let's talk about that Page of Cups. So. Cups in tarot represent emotions. They can represent your emotional highs and lows, those things that fulfill you, emotional experiences, feelings, which I think is a really convenient card that we have pulled because you were actually just talking about this new emotional journey you're going on with yourself, right? You're talking about like, I want to explore my emotions better. I want to communicate my emotions better. I want to understand other people's emotions better. And what's convenient about this card, about the Page of Cups, is we're actually looking at somebody who is a lot further along in that journey than you would expect. I would venture to say that like right now, and if you feel willing to share, please do. But I just have a feeling, and what I'm feeling called to say is this idea that like you've recently had an experience where you were like, oh, I've had the skills for this. I just haven't been putting them into work. Like, I don't know who or like who you've been dealing with the most on like an intimate basis, or like the person who really inspired you to want to kind of go on this journey, if there was an interaction or something that kind of sparked that, where you were like, okay, this is the growth I need to make. But then later you also have come to realize you've made a lot more growth in that, or you're a lot further along in that journey than you realize. Does that resonate with you at all? Like, does anything come to the...
Yeah, no, actually, wow. Definitely. So I had just been kind of... like, I don't know, well, full disclosure without giving like every nitty gritty like little detail. Sure. I was seeing someone for like a little bit here recently, and they were very into this kind of thing, like very into astrology and all of these kinds of things, and just kind of like talked to me a little bit about it, and it got me thinking like, do I really, somewhere along the way, like, do I really know myself? Like, am I really like happy with the way like my feelings are going, I guess. So I don't know. That just kind of inspired me to start getting up and like doing things that I hadn't done really a long time. Just that like I would just like sit and listen to music, or just sit and meditate and stretch, and just kind of like think like about life in general and the way that the things that I'm doing right now are making me feel. So like, yeah, I feel like up until then, I had been kind of like working on myself and like growth in general. I feel like that kind of really sparked it, and I was like, okay, like I feel like I have been doing this, but also like I definitely feel like I have a long way to go. And then so yeah, I guess so. That's interesting. I wasn't expecting right off the bat to be like, wow, okay, I definitely resonate with that, but no, yeah, for sure.
You all heard it here, folks. You know, I'm screaming now. I'm picking it up on my mic. Sorry, everybody else who has to listen to me. I just get so excited. First, I want to say thank you for sharing that. And again, I just want to reiterate, like, at any moment, like, if there's something that you're like, no, that totally resonates, and I'm comfortable saying it in this moment, but you don't want it necessarily with the public, you're totally welcome to, you know, say that to me for me to note for later. But one, I really appreciate hearing that, and two, that, you know, that makes so much sense, and just it's just funny because it's like I didn't even have, you know, I just like to talk about these things a little bit, just in how, like, you know, Chris and I are friends, and like we do talk, but most of the time it's in a like group message setting, so like I also wouldn't know the nitty gritty details going on either, and so I just want to put that into the space about how like we're not trying to pull nothing fancy here, like this is all, you know. But no, thank you for sharing that. And that's, I'm just interested in if you're willing to share, and what kind of skills have you kind of realized, one, that you have, or like two that you have developed?
Well, to kind of like counteract that, I feel like out of everything, I kind of realized like one that I don't have.
Okay, sure.
And that was like, I feel like I just kind of like draw off the energy of other people and like rely on other people in my life to be like, I don't know, with the way I'm feeling, I guess I've never really thought about like, okay, like, are you good on your, when I'm on my own? Like, cause obviously like with quarantine and everything, we've all been on our own a lot. And like, I think I've realized recently that like I don't know. I've never been the best, like being on my own. I think I've realized that recently. With this whole process, I'm trying to get better at doing that. Yeah. I feel like, I guess in terms of skills that I know I have, like just being like pretty open about the way that I feel about things.
Totally.
Like almost to a fault at times, but I feel like that is one skill that I have that, I mean, obviously like some people don't. And it's just always been something like, if I feel a certain way, I'm going to make it known. So yeah, I guess that would be my answer.
Totally. Yeah, no, it's just funny because it's like, obviously I've been around for a couple like Coogan moments of like, God, maybe he didn't need to say it that way. Or like,
no, yeah, I definitely, I definitely have in those kind of moments have noticed like, okay, like that could have been better. Like, but in terms of like just kind of being open about the way I feel is the good light that I'm gonna put on those kind of situations.
Oh yeah, no, totally. And I think there's something to be said about the fact that I don't think until we're older we kind of realize how many people sort of struggle to talk about their emotions and their feelings in a tactful way, or even being willing to. And so like having that strength and that, that level of bravery when it comes to vulnerability is something that not a lot of people have. And so even if it's not fine-tuned, right, like it's still something that you should really cherish about yourself. Yeah. So love that for you. And that's something that like I've always admired about you. I feel like I'm also very the same though.
Love it.
I do think I think I can be a little more diplomatic sometimes, but every once in a while I throw something in the group message and I'm like, maybe that won't get laughed at.
Oh my God. Well, I got to mention this, being that we kind of talked about that. I don't know why this memory popped up in my head the other day, but I will never forget the day. I think it was the day that you got hired to be an RA, or the day that they like gave you the confirmation. Yeah. I was like, oh wow, Will, like wow, like I don't know if I could ever do that. And you looked at me and you were like, honey, they would never choose you to be an RA. I'll never forget that. I don't know why. When you sent this thing about the podcast, I like that just popped into my head, I just started losing it.
Sometimes we all have our low moments, and
it didn't hurt my feelings at all. You were right. I was just like, you are 100% right.
I don't think I think it's very hard to hurt your feelings, so I would be very surprised if I did. No, that's just so funny to me that came to mind. I probably did say that, and to that, I apologize. I want it on record, everyone.
No, you don't need to. I mean, there definitely are things I feel like that people could say that while I'm like kind of like a pretty loud and extroverted person, I feel like there definitely are things that people say that will get to me, but like that was like, I was like, okay, no, not at all. That's not something you ever need to worry about that bothering me. It was hilarious. So very true. In the moment, maybe it felt appropriate. We had an audience to make laugh. I don't know. And is that a good enough excuse? Probably not. I can't remember where we were. I think we were in the quad, but I don't remember. I just remember like you worded it exactly that way. That sounds very on brand for me. No, yeah. So, Coogs, actually, moving into your reading, you kind of put some stuff forward that, like, I'm going to steal now because it's what this next card talks about. So I just want to put that out there that I have not shifted anything around. This is what I pulled. This was your middle card. Was the devil. And so let's talk about the devil real quick. Let's talk about the devil.
The devil and the death card. Those are the two that everybody, when they come up in tarot, are kind of like, am I gonna?
Yeah, I don't.
Like, am I a bad
I'm like
person?
freaked out right now. I don't really know.
No. You really don't need to be freaked out. What the devil is actually talking about is a few different things, and you touched on a couple of them, and I'll throw out a few others, and we'll see kind of where they resonate. But there's this imagery of being chained, right? This imagery of feeling like you can't let go of something, that there's something that you can't get away from, that there's a part of yourself that you're like, I know I would be better with, or not with, but without this perhaps, but for whatever reason you're kind of having the hard time, getting past that. But it's not only to like a thing about yourself, but it could be a person, it could be a thing. If you consider yourself someone who, let me use an I statement. I feel things very intensely and strongly, and so I know for me, when the devil card comes up, it's usually telling me like, you've been putting a little too much energy into something that's not serving you the way it needs to be. And that's really where I think this is coming from, and like where it's tying in. Letting knowing that you're allowed to free yourself from situations like this, where you're feeling chained down, if you will, where you're feeling like this is getting in the way of your growth and your trajectory, or at least it's holding you back or not allowing you to experience personal development the way it should be.
I definitely think the one thing that comes to mind, specifically, another like thing talking about just like the state of like where we are, and like kind of like everyone's like kind of stuck indoors and stuck in their typical like day to day, like operations, routines, and things like that. One bad habit I've always had about myself that I've always tried to work on is like I can get pretty frustrated pretty easily at like little things, whether that be like traffic or like something like I can't find my keys, something like that. Like I don't know, like little things that while are frustrating or no reason to like ruin your own like day about it. And I think that when I get in like those little moods, I start to kind of draw like the bad, like everything that I feel in my life that has like bad energy. And like to a degree, I just kind of sit there and like I have a bad habit of drawing all of those feelings at the same time and more or less like kind of like wallowing in it. And I think that while I have been like working on myself as a person and like trying to be more like mindful of like the way I feel about situations and just kind of trying to find a more like positive light and everything, I think that is one thing that I've had a hard time not doing. So that's one thing I've always wanted to get rid of. It's like the one thing about like the way that like, I don't know, my emotions operate, like I've always wanted to get rid of, but it's something that I definitely have noticed as of lately has been like, okay, like you're not able, like you're trying to get rid of this, but it's something that's still kind of holding you back. Yeah.
No, totally. You said something that kind of resonated with me, because something I say a lot, something I really try to live by, is this idea that like negativity begets negativity, right? And so it's like if you start your day off in a certain mindset, you're likely going to feel that way the whole day. And so you kind of got to fit in whatever you can, whatever practice you need. I've become a morning person. This was never the case for me. This was not, William Leach did not like mornings. But over the last several months, I wake up at 7 a.m. at the like kind of latest, start my day, and I'm listening to a podcast, listening to affirmations, listening to positive affirmations on Spotify or like a YouTube playlist or something. I'm just doing something that like I make my coffee, I sit down, I visit with myself, I let go of the negative, I let in the positive, because I know if I start my day or if I allow myself to kind of fall into any sort of negativity, any kind of negative mindset, that's just gonna frame how I view everything for the rest of the day. Yeah. But then 100%. Like you said, it's kind of it's hard sometimes when you think about when you go through one bad thing, it's hard to not also then fixate on anything else, any little thing. Yeah. You kind of almost have to teach yourself to not give yourself permission to be at 100 when a situation really only deserves like a 5 or 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I got you. Because
it's interesting that you say that like it almost feels like, and I'm obviously putting this phrase together for you, but it almost feels like you're letting go of and you're like detaching yourself from negativity and from like negative thought or like a lack of, or letting go like these this woman I used to work for, Hillary, if you listen, she used to say the shackle of shame. That was like her thing. Shame. And so if you ever, that's just something that like kind of comes to my mind right now. And especially just because of the imagery. Because again, I mean, we're talking about two people. We're talking about the people who are represented by the Lover's card now sitting in front of the devil. And like, what does that mean? And, traditionally the Lovers can mean a couple things. And the fact that they're represented here really tells me this idea of like choice. Like I for you right now, what's important to you and what you're learning and continuing to reiterate to yourself, and correct me if I'm wrong, is this idea that like you have a choice to be positive. You have a choice to like, yes, you can't control how you feel, but you can control what you do about it. And I think that's, you're kind of realizing the difference between those things and like the power that you can have over the way you express and experience things, even if you can't have control necessarily over the level at which you feel things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, yeah, you nailed it right on the head. No, 100%. I definitely also like really level with the whole like starting your day off in like a positive light, because I mean I've always been kind of more productive and like things like that in the morning than I have at night or anything like that. But lately I have been waking up early and just doing things as simple as just putting headphones in and like stretching and like drinking my coffee like outside, like just outside when it's like nice outside, and it's just like that like moment, like just kind of like, because I don't know, the music that I listen to is one thing that is always like I feel like I've had the control over like kind of what mindset it puts me in, and like just listening to more like upbeat things that I know that I like, and starting my day off that way has just led to more positive results. So no, I level with that for sure.
I think 100%. And I think what you bringing up music is so important because, and I have 2 points. One, there's something like that. I don't know how to explain it other than spiritual, like the way music makes people feel and like the kind of like influence it has over you. If anybody wants to know what it's like to have like a spiritual feeling or to connect with something spiritually, listen to a song. That is what being tuned in and dialed in feels like. But to your point, I feel like most people, and I know I used to do this. I mean, we were all in middle school, came home from a bad day, broke up with our boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, went up to our room and turned on like Linkin Park or Daughtry or something, and it's like, why if we were feeling a low, did we not put on something that would raise our vibration, right? Like why didn't we, it's just kind of like, it's almost common sense. But instead we were like, let's do something that feeds that emotion.
Exactly. That's what you just described, like, oh, like, why are we doing this, is the one thing what I initially just touched on when you pulled that card. Like the one thing about myself, I feel like I just kind of like, rather than being like not trying to distract myself and ignore the way I was feeling, but instead of trying to get myself out of it and like focus on the better things, just kind of wallowing in it. So it's definitely, it's like, okay, like why do we do this? But it's like one thing that I have struggled getting out of.
Sure,
so,
totally.
Yeah.
And to go into your final card for this, sort of like, where are we with Christopher Coogan right now? Like, where is his mind space? Where is he trying to head? The last card we pulled for you before we get into your like, here's what to do for Libra season reading is actually the 5 of Cups. So we've got more cups. And again, I'm telling you, cups represent emotions, dude. And you'll notice that, this doesn't look like the most happy card, but I try to, something I tell everybody when I read for them is that there's positivity that will come out of a message that perhaps is cloaked in I almost said shadow, but that sounds so lame. And like who am I trying to but something that, like something that like you have to look at the positivity that's coming out of sort of like the warning, you know what I'm saying? And so what I want to say to this is basically what I gain from the Five of Cups is this idea of like, as you're moving forward, something to really keep in mind, and something that maybe you feel like you're struggling with this right now, but you're getting better at it, but it's going to be something that's going to continue to challenge you, is this, it's the letting go thing, but it's also about making sure that where you sort of empty one cup, you find another cup to fill, right? And what I mean by that is like, make sure that if you're trying to remove something that's not serving you, something negative, that you're also providing something for you that's like fulfilling and emotional. And so it sounds like, for the most part, that is something you've been doing, right? But wherever you feel like you're lacking, or as you continue and you're realizing, oh, there are more things that aren't serving me right now, what can I do to replace that? Or also remembering this, like, I feel like with this card, there's this lack of balance, right? I almost feel like either coming up or maybe right now, you kind of have this sort of like, or you'll go into this experience and you'll say, feel like I have to put in a lot of energy to get back not quite as much. And maybe that's something you feel now with the situation. But what I encourage you to think about is that the reason we pour out these cups when we find new ones is because those things serve us more. But another thing about this Five of Cups is like, he's along the river, and if you look, he's right by a bridge. So right now, while he's focusing on the things that he's let go of, or like the energy that he's given, or the emotions that he's given, he's almost neglecting to remember like, oh, right behind me, I have two perfectly good cups. They're full. They're serving me. I love sipping from them. There's a river right in front of me leading me to the bridge to get to my next destination. And so making sure you're not fixating, and this might be a stretch because I don't know. Do you feel like you're somebody who really like fixates hard? Like, are you like when you feel like you have to deal with something in the moment immediately, or if something happens, you're going to think about it for a long period of time? Like, do you kind of find yourself distracting yourself mentally often?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah. 100%. I definitely, like, I mean, everything I was just saying, like, I can find one thing in that very moment, while I might have other things that are to do that are probably more productive, or for like more productive, like personally. I don't know. I get into mindsets where I'm like, okay, like I literally, if I don't do this now, it's gonna eat at me. Like I literally I could get in situations where I can't get that off of my brain for sure.
Something I'm going to challenge you to do, and I bring it up because of this card too, is like the next time you find yourself in a scenario where you're like, it's about to happen. You're like on the edge. You're like, I know I'm about to start freaking out. I'm going to start bugging. Step back. Take a minute. Take a deep breath. Remove yourself from the situation. Take the agency to say, like, I don't have to sit in this right now. And just look around and say, what do I want from this? Whatever the situation is. Like, what do I want from this? How is this going to serve me? And if it's not, think for a second and think to yourself about what is serving you better than that, and like how you're going to get there instead. I'm basically asking you to, like, when the situation comes, take a step back and reframe. I say reframe a lot, but I mean it, right? It's like, if you can take the moment to, instead of, I'm going to say another thing that's maybe a little bold, but if you consider yourself reactionary, if you're kind of like, it happens, if you kind of snap back immediately, or if you feel like that's your tendency to lean towards, reel that in. Be aware of that and kind of pull it back and say, okay, I'm going to give myself permission to sit in the way I'm feeling, and to step back and to think about things and to experience things, and to be able to know that, like, you don't owe anybody an immediate reaction. You don't owe anybody anything immediately, ever, really. Does that make sense? Do you kind of hear what I'm...
Yeah, I definitely... Yeah, I think that one of the main things, I think I've gotten better about it as time has gone on, but I definitely think that I'm for sure a reactionary kind of person, and anyone I've ever lived with can probably attest to this, that I just, like, while I might not have really talked about the whole situation, like, if I'm if I have other things weighing on me emotionally, like little roommate things, I'll just snap, and then like I'll just start like I'll like freak out a bit, like, why do you do this? Like why like little things like taking the garbage out or like washing a dish, like were things that like I've really brought out a much stronger reaction than were really warranted.
Sure.
And that's because like other things were going on at the time. So I think that, I'd for sure say, I'm trying to think of like a way to put it into words, but other than just saying, yes, I feel I'm reactionary, but, it's definitely another skill like I've always wanted to possess, to be like, okay, this is not what you're actually mad at. Just take a step back, like sit down, breathe.
Totally.
You're fine. Like it will be okay. Like you're fine.
And it's hard to, in that moment, and I just want to put that out, you know, what I just said and what I offered to you in truth is easier said than done. It's not something that like you're going to be able to do overnight. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you're already so far ahead because you're really aware of yourself. And that's something that, you know, in my young adult life, I've come to realize that a lot of people actually lack is self-awareness. And I think there's a huge strength, and you have to always kind of give yourself some grace, you know, and be able to say like, okay, like I recognize that maybe that wasn't my best, maybe not my cutest moment. Me telling Chris he will never be an RA, not my cutest moment. But I'm able to look back at that and say like, okay, that wasn't my cutest moment. And now I know. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, use that, internalize that, learn from it, and apologize. You know, even if it's like down the road in 10 years, you know, be willing to say like, that's not representative of me and the growth that I have made. But I am sorry. Because in that moment, it's what I felt. Are you afraid of apologizing? Are you you good at apologizing? No.
Okay. I think that I'm fine. I'm fine to open up and be like, yo, like I overreacted, like, or whatever it may be. I'm sorry. But my thing about that, while you did apologize for that, it's funny because I think of that as like one of like the quintessential like things about like how I know you, and I just think it's like it's such a funny moment to me. Like even in that moment, I was just like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I mean, I definitely think that I don't know. I feel like I make a mistake and like whether I hurt someone or whatever, maybe I feel pretty like okay with being like, hey, like I screwed up. I'm sorry.
Good. Cool.
I'm trying to think of I don't know, the kind of like I've been really thinking about this. I've been trying to think of a way to put it into words until like right this second it just clicked to me. But when you showed me that card, like the one thing that clicked in my head was kind of how some of the cups are like, well, like you were just saying, some of the cups are full, some of the cups are spilled. Correct? Is that and then like the bridge is right there. Yep. So the whole like inspiration I've gotten recently kind of stemmed from like my junior year of college. Like I was I was in a horrible headspace. I was in like a very dark place personally, and as a result of that, I was kind of like battling some demons like from those times for like a really long time. Things that like feelings of, without getting like every nitty gritty detail because that would take like a really long time. Just feelings of like anger, guilt, and just like wallowing in my own sadness kind of feelings that I never thought I was going to get rid of, like a couple specific things that happened. And recently I just kind of like worked through those issues and like things I straight up thought I was like, okay, I'm going to live with this till like forever. And was able to work through that and just kind of realize like, look, it happened. It's part of who you are. Yeah, it sucked and it still sucked that it happened, but it's like, it's no reason to let that weigh on you every day. And I think that I still have other things that I need to work through like that. So like, that's kind of like what that resonated with me. It's like, I've worked through these that yielded nothing but positive results. And while other things might still suck, there's like, you can move forward still. There's still places to go.
Yeah.
So
what did you need me for? Did you all hear that? That was look at you.
Well, I mean, like I kind of like thought about it to a degree, but it's like, I don't know, the other two, it took me a second to really think what exactly those kind of feelings evoke. But I don't know, that one I resonate with that for sure, more than anything.
Well, I'm glad. And, like I always say, take what resonates and let the rest go. You know what I mean? And that's not even just, actually, I stole that. Hold on. If anybody listening watches Shanetta's Divine Tarot on YouTube, she's a queen. Love her. She says that, and so sometimes I have to make sure in my head if I say something because I picked it up from somewhere, I want to make sure I credit the appropriate people.
Repeat it one more time.
Take what resonates with you and let the rest go.
Okay.
And that's something that you can apply to a reading. It's something you can apply to life. And now, let's do your surviving Libra season. All right, we are about 10 minutes. So I'm going to give you a quick 3, and we're going to go through this is like we're mapping out for Christopher Coogan on this day what Libra season is going to look like. The challenges, the successes, the things you just want to focus on. Like beyond where we just came from, like here's what Libra season is saying for you.
Okay.
All righty. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm just going to go down the line and give you a straight linear story with the things that I pulled. Okay, so starting off, we have the 6 of coins. And the reason I had to count was because the Roman numerals backwards on my screen. So I was like, is that really what that is? Okay, so let's talk about this. What I'm going to say about this and what I'm going to say it should mean to you. Funny enough that we're talking about Libra season and there's actually a scale in this photo. There's actually something about balance in 2 of these. I love that. Okay. Anyway, what I was going to say is moving into Libra season, until the 23rd, I believe, of October, what you really need to focus on, and something that you're probably already very minded of this because you are Libra, but maybe I'm also projecting. But what I was going to say is, what I'm feeling is that to you, it's almost been a bit of a goal to feel like you can give more. Like you feel like and I'm not even talking about something like money, you know what I mean? I'm not even talking about that. Even if you feel like you're wanting to be able to give more of yourself, an authentic piece of yourself, or if you just want to be more of an advice giver, a mentor, like if somewhere in your mind there's been this idea of I just want to be more of this, I want to do more of this, I want to give more of this, I want to, there's something you feel like you have to give to people. That's what I'm getting from this, and this is really your chance to do that. I mean, there are people who are really going to benefit from you stepping up and saying, you know what, I have something to give, and that's what I'm going to give people. That's the skill, that's the talent, that's the thing, whatever it is, Just immediately, is there anything that in your brain you've been I've been wanting to give more of that? It could be your time, whatever.
Yeah, I definitely, I feel like time definitely resonates because there's always just one thing I have a bad habit of doing is while I have people in my life I want to see, I'll kind of make non-tentative plans, and then when it comes time to actually kind of all right, let's do this, I'm just I had a long day, I'm not in the mood to do that. So definitely things like that have always been, I don't know, that's definitely something that pops up. In terms of being there for other people, that's something that personally I've always found that I'm pretty good at doing. And just I guess I wanted to continue to be able to do that for the people that I'm close with, for sure. Yeah. Definitely resonates.
Yeah. Do you feel like you haven't been doing that recently? Just because of, granted we're in quarantine, so it would make sense.
Well, yeah, we're not only are we in quarantine, but it's obviously I guess we didn't just get out of college. It's been a
year and a half,
close to a year and a half now. But it's everyone that I was super close with are all kind of dispersed now. Everyone's kind of all over the place.
Totally.
And while I still remain in close contact with people, it's those kind of day-to-day conversations that I would have had, hey, how you doing? You okay? Oh, you're not okay. It's okay to feel that way. And let's talk about it. It's not conversations that I continue to have on a day-to-day basis anymore.
Totally.
And whether that be me being there for them or them being there for me. So I mean, that's definitely something that resonates for sure. And I would love to just bring those kind of like fostering those relationships more in my own life. Yeah.
Cool. No, thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
The next card that you have is actually the 3 of coins. And now I feel like I have a tendency to read this card a little differently than others. Maybe somebody's going to get in the comments and be like, no, that's literally like how you should read that card. You're not special. And that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not special. It's fine.
You're the first person I've ever heard read this card, so you're not going to...
Well, then thank you. I say that like I have a bunch of haters in my comments already. Like, who am I? I'm not that important yet. But what I was going to say is the 3 of coins to me is always this card that I talk about like labor and specifically like your worth. And the way I'm going to put this is like, if in October, again, the knuckle popping, I have to break that habit for this podcast. But tying it into work, and it can be like personal projects, but also like actually like work. During Libra season, when you're kind of in this rut of, I'm going to say, not feeling validated or not, just like when you're seeking some validation in your work, what I'm going to challenge you to do, and like this is that card that I'm saying, like, this is probably your like advice card to me. This for me is, learn to seek validation from yourself, but also to know that like, not only from yourself, but also don't be afraid to seek feedback when you feel like you need it or want it or deserve it. But knowing like the balance of that, right? You know, and the reason I say that is because it's this idea, and the way I've always seen this card, the way I've always read it, is somebody's working on something, somebody's sculpting, somebody's putting something together, and they have onlookers, but like, it seems a little, it doesn't seem inviting, does it? I mean, that just kind of seems like a stare off almost. It's this idea of like, okay, you see me, so are you going to mind your business or are you going to say something? You know what I mean? And it's like, I would either like to know where I stand. I would like to know, you know, this to me is like, you want or are going to be met with the want for some validation in your work and the things that you've been putting together, whether it's like, I don't know if you're still trying to make music or not, or something like that, you know, any of those situations where you're like, I feel like I would benefit from at least a little pat on the back. Don't be afraid to admit that to yourself, but make sure before you're wanting it from other people and before you're going to seek it from other people, take one step back and say, have I given myself that validation? Have I told myself good job yet? Have I told myself that I am feeling resolved with the work I'm doing? If that makes sense, you know? And sorry, it took me a minute to get to that message. I was just trying to think of the best way to put it. But for me, it's just a place of like, when you feel challenged from a lack of, I'm going to keep using the term validation, I suppose, but perhaps even attention, like step back and say, where's that coming from? And is that really what I need? Or is it like, do I need feedback? Do I just need an affirmation? You know, sometimes I think we confuse like wanting validation, or people will often weaponize this idea of needing validation for really just being willing to say and being honest and saying like, look, I could use something positive said to me. There's nothing wrong with that. So I don't know if you feel like you're good at asking for what you need emotionally, but that's kind of what I'm getting from this, but tied specifically to like something you're doing and making. Something that you take pride in, or like something that you feel like people should recognize, if that makes sense.
So there's kind of like two different things that really come to mind with that. The one thing, like you mentioned, music, and I guess like those of you that are listening to this and don't really know a lot about it, like I've kind of, the one thing I've really always found happiness in and felt that I like kind of have full control over is like writing and recording my own music. And it's something that while I haven't, while some stuff has been made public, not as much of it has. And it's been something that I've been doing since I was like 14, something that's always made me happy. But during, I don't know if it really started like right as quarantine hit or like something right beforehand, maybe, I don't know, but I've just kind of like been struggling with like inspiration and like,
totally,
for lack of a better way to put it, like kind of having writer's block to a degree, like not really knowing, because typically I'm like, even if I'm writing about some ignorant shit going on, like I'm just kind of like feeding off of emotions that I'm getting from like other things going on. So like I don't know, maybe the ability to share like what I have going on that I haven't been made public, and like getting validation from that and being like, oh yeah, that's good. Here's what you could change. Here's things like that. Or rather than just kind of feeling like, okay, nobody knows I'm doing this means that I'm not doing it, I guess is a way to put it. Yeah. Yes. So which while it might not be the case, it's like it's without the validation from others, that's the way it can feel. And then the other thing that I think about are the job that I have. I work on a team of like, I don't know, like 50 other people that probably do like around the same thing. And as we work throughout the week, there's basically like a scorecard kind of thing that gets released that kind of shows everyone and like their standings for the week and like their metrics and all these different reasons. And sometimes it's like, especially if I'm dealing with something going on and
I live in LA. Sorry.
It's like a NASCAR event over there. But like just kind of like dealing with something difficult, or if I'm doing something well, someone reaching like little things, like someone reaching out and being like, yo, I see you're doing this week. Like you're killing it. This is awesome. Like keep doing what you're doing. Or even if it's like negative criticism, like if it's like I handled a situation poorly, or if there's something about like my metrics that I could do better, like reaching out and being like, hey, like I see this is going on. I see that you're putting effort this way. Here's maybe a way that you can improve that. So definitely like work wise, I always kind of have a bad habit of getting in my own head and being like, okay, like even if I'm doing something well, like thinking I'm doing something wrong, or the other way around. Like maybe if I find my own personal way of doing it that might not be the best, I kind of get in my own head in both those kind of ways. And I like something that I've always felt really, I guess, like kind of seeking the validation from others with that, which might not always be the best way to handle it, but like it definitely helps. So that's definitely with work and music, both of those things kind of come to mind in two different lights.
I challenge everyone to really stop thinking of validation as something that you should feel shame for wanting. That's something that like we've gotten into in this day and age. I don't know where it comes from, but like everybody wants it. You know what I mean? And it's okay to want validation. My words of encouragement, my wisdom, my philosophy is always like, make sure before you're seeking it from other people that you're providing it to yourself. You want to make sure you're not like trying to fill a like personal void with words of affirmation from other people, right? Because it's like ultimately you want to feel resolved in your work and what you're doing, you know? And if it's not coming from you first, kind of like you said, it's like, yeah, you know you're doing it, but do other people? And it's like, once you kind of reach that mindset of like, no, I am doing it even if other people don't see it, I feel like that's when you're like, oh wait, now I'm ready to introduce it to other people. You know what I mean?
Okay. Exactly. That's the thing. Like whether that be music, whether that be work, whether that be just like straight up the way that I'm feeling in my day to day. I don't think it's wrong at all to want validation from others, but at the same time, I think that I've wanted that so much to a point where I don't really get it personally.
Yeah.
And I think that while I guess if you have it too much, that could come off as being conceited. I think that it's very important to kind of get that validation from yourself and to be like, yes, like what I'm doing is special to me. This is the way it makes me feel. This is why this is good, rather than just wanting people to like comment on it and be like, okay, here's what I think. I don't know. I think it's fine to want validation, but at the same time, I think you definitely, to a degree, it should come from yourself.
Yeah, totally. So your last card is going to be the sort of like, this is the thing where, here's what I'm going to say. Libra season's going to end, and I'm going to text you, and I'm going to say, did this card end up coming true? Because this is sort of my, like, I guess I'd call this a prediction. I don't claim to be able to tell the future, but this is what the universe is calling for you, the Chariot. And here's what I'm going to say about the Chariot. Within Libra season, you're going to have this experience where you're going to feel very inspired, which is the convenient thing. And the reason I say that is because I always look into, and maybe read into it too much, but I love the details. The stars above the chariot, kind of this idea of like divine inspiration, that, you know, you're making this choice and this movement, this mobility of yours is coming from a place of inspiration. It's coming out of nowhere. It's something that's been kind of given to you in a thought. If you're feeling a lack of inspiration, I see that that's going to clear up for you. So, you know, it's just funny, you know, where I'm like, oh, he's spilling into the third card and we haven't even got there yet. We haven't even got there. But the other thing about the chariot is this idea of balance, right? And that's also so convenient that we're going into Libra season because it's all about balance. But I mean, you see the two Sphinx in the front, black and white, this idea of balance, right? And this idea of being perhaps pulled in two different directions and having choice, right? And having agency. And what I'm going to challenge you to do is, like, through Libra season, when you're feeling like you're being handed or presented an opportunity or a thought or something, you know, like when you have sort of like an aha moment, right? This is intuition training 101. This is Libra season for you, and it makes sense because you're going to be your most powerful because it's your sun sign. This is going to be your season of intuition. This is going to be you being like, this over this next month-long period is actually where I'm really going to learn to trust my gut instinct, and I'm going to kind of learn the whole, like, I can trust where I'm heading myself. Because maybe right now you don't. Maybe right now, and this is going to be a bold statement. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for the ride? Mm-hmm. Maybe right now you feel like you're doing a lot of things because you're supposed to, but I have a feeling you're going to see the benefits and fully understand that moving forward, right? And it's going to be based on your choices and the agency that you have and the actions you took to make change for yourself. And to see that thing that came to your mind to fruition, whether it be a new song or something. Maybe you're going to take up painting. I don't know. You know, the options are limitless. But that is my like closing out Libra season. That's what I see for you. It's a new journey, and it's all going to be based on your choice and your inspiration, something that's coming to you. If you pick up a new hobby or something during Libra season, let a boy know, because there's going to be something fruitful about it. Something you've been wanting to pick up, it's about to come through, and you're going to make these choices that are going to bring you to a whole new place in your life, and that's so exciting. And I love that for you.
Yeah, that's yeah, I think the one thing about me is, like, a lot of the I tend to, like, abandon the hobbies that I do have that I feel that, like, truly, like, make me happy, and, like, because I think a lot of the things that come from it is like music and, like, art and, like, drawing, like, things like that are, like, the things that I love doing, but it's a matter of the inspiration I have in that moment. So yeah, the idea of, I guess, like, inspiration just coming to me is obviously, it's a wonderful thing. I love the idea of that. So definitely looking forward to something like that. But yeah, the whole stuck in the doing this because I'm supposed to is definitely a very big thing right now, because it's like my day to day is I'm working because I'm supposed to work. And then it's like, now what? Now I'm just kind of stuck in, like, my room, like, quote unquote office at the moment.
You want to feel some purpose.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's in the future, so I can't really say, like, in that very moment, I'm definitely going to resonate with that, or I'm going to feel this way. But I mean, the idea of that is something that I've been searching for. So I mean, if that comes to fruition, like, that would be amazing. So I guess I'll follow up with that with you later.
I'm going to have a, like, Where Are They Now podcast episode at the end of every season, or at the beginning of every new season. Okay. My episode, I'll invite people back on and I'll be like, let's talk about it.
I'd love to.
Be like, where are you now after that reading? What resonated with you? What stayed? What came? What came to fruition? Yeah. Well, Coogan, how do you feel in this moment? How are you in your heart of hearts? How is your soul?
I'm feeling good. I mean, like, I don't know. I've like I said, like, I've always been pretty open about the way that I feel about things, but, like, I don't know, kind of, like, really, like, I don't know, no matter how many times I do it, saying them out loud always, like, makes me feel better to agree. And just kind of, like, having, while it might not be something tangible, like, things to look forward to is always a good feeling.
Totally. Totally.
So yeah, I mean, I'm 3 beers in. I'm feeling pretty good. If it's some little clarity, feeling pretty good as well.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I am so thankful that you held this space for me. You and everybody listening are all beautiful humans, so thank you, and I appreciate it. Is there anything going on in your life that you want to plug? Any projects? What's your Insta handle? Where can people find you if you want to be found?
I mean, if you want to go to my Instagram, as douchey as it might sound, it's at that dude Coogs,
Yep.
Coogs. I mean, other than that, I mean, I'm just kind of getting through the day-to-day of quarantine. You can find me at
There you go, yeah.
good old Stratford pretty much every day.
There you go. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a luxurious place for sure.
Chris, thank you so much for sharing everything you shared today. I hope that there are stuff that you feel like you're really taking away. And thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I loved
of course.
it.
Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, this is Will with Tipsy Tarot. Just a quick reminder, if you want to be on the podcast, send me a DM and we'll figure out a way to get you here. Other than that, we'll have a new episode in a few days. Thank you so much. All right. Namaste. Bye, Chris. Have a good one, okay?
You too.